Alright, Mason Brock Henderson here. Flash Season 2, Episode 3, Family of Rogues. I can't stop watching this, man. To be perfectly honest, and this is not knocking Arrow at all. I do enjoy Arrow for the most part. But doing this whole, watching the Flash episode, then watching the Arrow episode, for most of the Arrow episode, I'm just sitting there. I want to get back to the Flash. I want to get back to the Flash. It's so fun and exciting, and the stories that they're able to tell and the characters they have on the Flash are so much more interesting. Like, it's great. It's great. It's great. It's great. I mean, this episode is telling one of the stories that I've enjoyed probably the most. Um, Partially because, Captain Cold is on Legends of Tomorrow, so it's kind of been fun seeing how he went from this villain who was just all about crime and stuff to now he's kind of becoming a good guy, and um, you know, it's kind of fun to see that how that change happened, how he slowly became more of a good guy. This one was really kind of the tipping point, I think, where in the last episode where he kind of saved Flash's life, but also had these helped these other metahumans to join him. That one was a bit more of a villain side, but this one was it felt very much like his father, evil man, puts a bomb inside of his sister and forces him to help in this crime that he has planned, or else he kills Snart's sister. And it's just like, that's just wrong. You threaten your own daughter's life to make your son help you. What is wrong with you? And honestly, even though I understand Flash is not exactly one for, killing, even if it is a bad guy, I'm kind of with Snart on this. I mean, that type of stuff is just wrong. And I do not feel bad for Snart's dad. I'm kind of glad that he's gone, because that's people like that don't deserve a place in this world. That was crazy. But this was a good episode in that we did get to see a bit more of that kind of, not necessarily a good guy, but not totally a bad guy either. We got to see that side of Snart, and that's fun to see. I'm not really sure what's gonna happen with Golden Glider now. Like, I don't know if she's gonna return as maybe a villain again, or if she's just kind of gonna pop up every now and then. But in this episode, she really didn't feel like a villain at all. Like, she just felt like she was a pawn. That her father was using her as a pawn to get to her brother. So I don't know. I don't know if we'll see much of her from here on out, as far as as a villain or as a helper. I don't think she's good enough, like, inside to help them, but also don't think she's evil enough to really put herself up against Flash and the team. So that was fun. We got to see more interesting stuff with Joe's ex-wife. Turns out she's alive, which we saw at the end of the last episode, but we finally find out the story behind it, how she was a drug user, and there was a moment where Joe finally decided it was over, where she actually, I think she overdosed or something. She was comatose from the drugs she was taking, and when he returned home, Iris was just standing in front of an open flame, and she was passed out. Like, it got to a point where he feared for Iris's safety whenever she was home alone with her mother. So that's why he told her to leave and, don't come back. You're worried about Iris. Totally makes sense. But he didn't tell her all this time until now. And that's kind of, as much as I hate these, storylines where some character lies to another one because he feels like they're protecting that other character. This one, I think, was handled bit better than most. First of all, his reason for not telling her made sense when she was little. You know, like not telling your daughter that her mother was a drug user and that's why she's gone, because you want your daughter to think of her as a good person. You're not you don't want to tell your daughter, "Hey, your mom used drugs." You know, if your daughter has this picture of her mother being this wonderful woman, I can understand why you don't want to ruin that. But there comes a time when you finally have to sit her down and say, "Okay, look, you're old enough now. I think you have the right to know." So for it to happen in this way, actually, I should say, normally in this scenario, it would be the mother would show up and tell Iris, "Hey, I'm your mom," and then she would get pissed at her father for not telling her. So I'm glad that they didn't do it that way, because that way is much more annoying and overly used cliche. Uh, the way it happens, you know, he sits her down and tells her, "Look, this is the truth," and because of that, she's much more accepting of it. Whereas if her mother had just shown up and said, "Hey, I'm your mom. I didn't actually die. Your father had to lie to you," she'd be like, "I can't believe you didn't tell me, and you know this is how I had to find out." Yeah, you know, I would understand her being pissed at that point, but the way they handle it is actually much better than most of these storylines go. So that's good to see. Um, it just shows kind of the the fact that the show actually has a good thought process behind it. It's not just, oh hey, let's just do these stories and you know, oh now this is gonna happen and here we need to create conflict between these two characters, so let's have this happen. It's much more thinking put into it than that. Um, at the end of it, they're you know, beginning they're talking about this whole anomaly time space thing that you know it looks like it's a wormhole to another world, but they can't open it. Well, Garrick decides he's gonna figure it out, so he stays down there for a while and finally gets it open. At the end of the episode, it was a little bit weird. You know, he wanted to go back, but they were like, no, you know. I think they're kind of developing a little bit of a relationship between Caitlin and him, which, you know, I guess she's finally trying to move on from Ronnie after what happened, so I can kind of understand that a little bit. I just wish that it didn't happen so fast. Like, it felt from. I could kind of see it coming from the first time that she started talking to him. Like, you could tell that she was kind of mesmerized by his looks. I'm just like, really? Are we doing this now? But the weird thing is that they find, you know, they're all just like, you sure you don't want to stick around a bit longer? He's like, all right, you know, once we stop Zoom, then I'm heading back. I could use a shower and a shave and some sunlight. And I'm like, you don't look dirty. Your face is as smooth as a baby's bottom, and you don't look white as a ghost. None of those things make any sense. You know, it's obviously a joke, but it wasn't a very good joke. It wasn't like he had some stubble and you know his hair was looking greasy and he obviously he'd been down there for a few days. But I don't know. I every time I hear a joke like that, it's because they actually look like they've been stuck in a place with no ability to cleanse themselves, you know, at all. He looks like he was perfectly clean. I don't know. They could have done a bit better there. Like, my hair, if I don't shower for a day, gets greasy. You can do that. You can do that with your. You can make their hair look greasy. It would have made that a bit funnier. But instead, I'm sitting here nitpicking it because it bugged me because it's late at night and I'm nitpicking everything. Anyway, but the interesting thing at the end of all of this is Stein collapsed at the end of the last episode. This time he starts to have another episode, except his eyes go white. He bursts into flames. It turns blue, and then all of a sudden he collapses again. It's kind of like, oh no. Like, I kind of get this sense that because I know he can handle like radiation, something like that. Legends of Tomorrow had a scene where he like absorbed radiation out of something. So I'm wondering if maybe he needs that to keep himself alive, or if he needs to recharge somehow, or maybe because Jefferson is supposed to be the next guy that he combines with to make Firestorm. I do wonder if this is kind of he's being drawn to his counterpart. Um, I'm curious to see what they're going to do with that, but I'm sure we're going to get more of that in the next episode and what's really going on with him. But it's just second time that we've left off with a cliffhanger on him, and then second time in a row, second episode in a row that we've ended with Harrison Wells pops up out of the portal with the superhero landing. If you watch Deadpool, you know what I'm talking about. But he comes out of the portal and stands up, and there he is, Harrison Wells. And I'm like, oh, what's he doing there? It just kind of popped out of nowhere. So I guess this portal leads to that futuristic place that we saw at the end of the last episode, maybe? I don't know. Hey, the people want to see you. My dog. What was that? Harrison Wells. I'm curious to see if he's gonna become a big part of it, which I would kind of like, because the one thing that I do miss from the first season is Harrison Wells. Like, even though he turned out to be a bad guy, I don't know, just the way that he talked to them, the way that he kind of guided them through stuff. I miss that dynamic of the show. Stop it. So even though he did turn out to be a bad guy, it wasn't really Harrison Wells being the bad guy. And I guess because they like that actor so much, they're like, hey, you want to come back for season 2? It's like, how? You killed off my character. Well, and then just started explaining, we got alternate dimensions, alternate Earths, and we're going to bring back Harrison Wells from... Seriously? We're going to bring back Harrison Wells from one of those alternate Earths, so you want to come back for season 2? He's like, okay. So I am glad to see Harrison Wells back, just as glad as he is to sit on my lap. You have something to say? Do you have something to say? I guess not. So overall, really happy with this episode. Really excited to see where it's going from here. 3 episodes in, and I'm already planning for the rest of the season. So I'm really excited. Clearly, so is he. Either that or he's tired. So, I guess this is where I'll end the review. Let me know what you thought of this episode down below. Let me know if I missed anything talking about stuff. Sometimes I do. So, just let me know. Leave a like and subscribe for this. And look at this. Look at this. He wants you to leave a like and subscribe. Tell him. Alright. I'll see you guys in the next review. Peace out.